Hey there, how you doing? Hope you're well. Today I want to share with you how adding some fat to your daily plan or your daily diet might actually contribute to weight loss. Now I appreciate that that might sound counterintuitive, but let me walk you through it and tell you how that works. So what we're talking about is a bulletproof coffee. This is nothing that I've made up. This is nothing new. This has been around for a long time, but essentially we're combining fat with coffee. Appreciate that that probably on the surface doesn't sound too alluring, but trust me, it's quite delicious. Essentially, there's a bunch of things that are happening on a physiological level when we do that, and let me explain. Coffee has an appetite suppressant reaction, as does ingesting fat, so it increases your satiety. And what that will do, if you drink it first thing or within an hour or two of waking, that can extend that fast that you've experienced during your sleep. So we've slept for 7 or 8 hours, we've not eaten for an hour or two before that, and so we've entered into a deep fasted state somewhere during the evening or somewhere during the night. We then might eat breakfast, whatever that might be, at 7 or 8 or 6 or whatever it is for you. You can override that by ingesting coffee in combination with fat, and so you now extend that fasting window. And when we do that, there's some delicious things that happen on a biological and physiological level. So we'll get an increase in autophagy, which is the cell cleansing. Your cells are getting rid of dead cell components and toxins and dysfunctional cell components, all very necessary, all very natural, and it just gets elevated, because it's happening all the time, but it gets elevated when we're in that fasted state, and we can extend on that fasted state and piggyback on that sleep-induced fasted state. So that's one thing. The second thing that happens is an upregulation of a number of things, one being mitochondrial biogenesis, the other being neural biogenesis. The other is the increase in BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotropic factors. These are all great things to embrace on a biological, physiological level. It might not be the thing that gets you over the line, because it's a nice to have and it happens without us having any input into it other than ingesting the coffee and the fat. But what might get you over the line and get you excited is that simple fact of extending your fast, and by proxy, you truncate your feeding window. So your feeding window starts when you ingest something, whether it's liquid or food, that knocks you out of your fast, i.e. triggers insulin. So insulin is the lever that knocks you out of your fast. This coffee won't do that, so it extends your fast, and now the remaining hours that you're awake and available to eat is shortened. So here's the magic. So forget about mitochondrial biogenesis, forget about autophagy, forget about neural biogenesis, all that stuff, that's going to happen anyway. What we're now talking about is a truncated feeding window, so a shortened feeding window. And I've talked many times about the biological benefits and the advantages that happen when we lean into our circadian rhythm and have a feeding window around about the 8 to 10 hour window. So there's some great things, and I talked at length about these. But essentially, what we're doing is we're reducing the number of hours and therefore the opportunity and the propensity to ingest food. So if you're interested, curious in losing body fat, having some additional fat at the start of the day will extend your fasting window and bridge and bunny hop over your breakfast, and so you're having a very late breakfast or an early lunch, or potentially going all the way through, and by proxy reducing or truncating your feeding window, you compress the opportunity to eat, and therefore you compress the opportunity to over consume calories, which is obviously the major lever for putting on weight. So now when we pull back, we can go, okay, instead of my feeding window starting at 6 a.m. before I go to work and finishing at 8, 9 o'clock, it now starts at midday and finishes at 8 or 9 o'clock. And now I've got an 8-hour feeding window versus something that looked like a 13, 14-hour feeding window. And there's some gold in both camps. There's some gold in extending your fasting window, and there's some gold in truncating your feeding window. But from a weight loss perspective, adding that fat to a coffee literally reduces your opportunity to eat, which is a great tool and a great strategy for weight loss. So how do we do it? So all I've done is made some French press coffee. You can create your coffee however you want to do it. You can do it on the stove top. You can do it, how else can you do it? Pods, whatever, I don't care. You can go and get a long black. So essentially what we're doing is getting a long black. We're going to combine some MCT, which is medium chain triglycerides, with some grass-fed butter. So we've got 2 types of fat. We're going to combine it all together in a blender, and that's going to yield this bulletproof coffee, which is delicious. Couple of things to note. The bulletproof coffee comes at a cost, right? And the cost is a calorific cost. Adding a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of coconut oil with your coffee yields in the region of about 400 calories. So it's not something, if you're looking to lose weight, that you add with your breakfast. It's designed to be inserted instead of breakfast or snacking or anything that you do in that early part of the day. It's to bridge over that. The other thing to note, that this guy, MCT, if you overconsume it, and it's very individualized, it can rebound from your rebound from your liver back into your gut, and at that point you want to be fairly close to the bathroom without being too graphic. It can give you a bit of gastric upset. So my advice would be to start with a teaspoon, see how you tolerate with that, give that a couple of days. Then if you're fine with that, go to 2 teaspoons. If you're fine with that, go to tablespoon. If you want to increase, have 2 tablespoons, really to keep stretching out that fasting window and maybe deep dive into the area of ketosis, because there's some physiological gold to be had there, but I'm conscious not to get too in the weeds of ketosis for this video. Okay, let's get into it. Tricks of the trade. What I like to do, because I like to have my coffee hot, so if I go to a cafe, I'll say, can I get extra hot, blah, blah, blah. Because we're combining coffee and a blender and we're going to blitz that, a lot of the heat gets lost into the atmosphere. So to mitigate that, I've got some hot water in the pan, and I'm going to preheat my cup. I'm going to preheat the blender. This is personal preference. You don't have to do this, but I've been doing bulletproof coffee for many years, and I just feel like for best experience, best results, make sure it's something that you enjoy. Make sure it's as hot as you want it to be. You know, there's nothing worse than going to all the effort of this and then it's a lukewarm experience. Life is too short for that. So I've preheated the blender. So we're going to add a tablespoon grass-fed butter, a tablespoon of MCT. A reminder, with the MCT, it can cause gastric upset, so do a stepwise introduction. And I've got some brewed coffee, and it's as simple as combining the two. And giving it a bit of a blitz. Okay, so you can see all the steam there, steam off the mug. And you can see that it's creamy, it's velvety. So if you had to compare it to something, it'd be in the realms of, you know, a fat-rich latte, you know, full cream latte or a full milk latte. But there we have it, guys. Yes, it yields all this amazing, or increase in autophagy and mitochondrial biogenesis and all these biological cellular adaptations and upregulation of all these physiological things. That's great. But if you wanted to lose weight, what we might be looking at is that ability for this coffee to extend your fast and therefore by proxy decrease your feeding window. And all that essentially does is reduce your opportunity to overeat. All right, thanks for listening, guys. I'll speak to you soon.